Happy November, everybody. Welcome to the Clusterfuck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network here at Center Ice. I am Nick. Beside me here, as always, is Brit. How's it going, Brit?
It's going. We had a day game today. For the team that I work for, the Muskies that I announced for, we had like 15 area school kids, so like elementary up to high schoolers, fill the entire building, and we had a game at 11 a.m. and it was packed. But between that and daylight savings time, I'm so used to walking out of the rink and going to bed that my body is very confused. So it feels like 4 o'clock in the morning right now.
See, for me, so my birthday's just here in 3 days.
Oh,
this recording, and my favorite early birthday gift always is an extra hour of sleep.
Yeah, it's my body clock is weird about stuff. I don't handle like the time change well ever. My internal body clock is strong.
A lot of people struggle with that, especially because you're so used to the sun going down at this point in time, 7, 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
it's down by like 6.
Waking up in the dark like makes me so much more tired. But
there's
yay, being old, getting old. I'm turning into one of those where like I rely on all my old people instincts. So
there you go, starting to turn into that. Instinctually, what is it?
Yeah.
The bones, you can feel it in your bones when a storm's coming.
Yeah, can tell you when it's raining because my knee's hurting.
Well, good deal.
Tripping over my own ankles, rolling my ankle, just tripping on my own foot. So I'm at that stage in life too. I think I need to be put in a nursing home.
Oh my gosh. Knock it off. Knock it off. All right. Before we begin, don't forget everyone to like and subscribe, follow the MHRT Network so you can get notified when shows like the Clusterfuck Podcast go live. If you want to follow them on their various social media platforms, you are more than welcome to do so, and we encourage you to do so. If you want to follow us, you can follow us specifically at the Clusterfuck Podcast on Facebook, and then at Clusterfuck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Okay, Britt. So obviously last week we didn't have an episode due to Halloween. Our episode times fell on Halloween, so we let people be with their families, go trick-or-treating, get sick from all the candy they've eaten, and then try to recover this.
I stole all my kids' Reese's. That's, if there's one thing that I can tell people makes having children worth it beyond the love and joy and emotional fulfillment, it's stealing all their Reese's the second they fall asleep. And I tell my kid, I'm like,
that's for sure.
That's the tax, is I get your Reese's. That's
mom tax, man. I need to get a dad tax of my own.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was beautiful here. It was the nicest Halloween I think I've ever.
Is that right?
Beautiful. Oh, it was so nice out. I think Colorado's getting snow. I don't know if you guys have, but
we started to, I think, just on my way down here. If you guys can't tell, I'm in a hotel room right now, hence my quiet voice. But on the way down, there was a little dusting of snow.
They said that Denver, like they're flying out early to beat some snow, and Cale Makar's flying with them. So I like it.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
So we got a few games to kind of cover just as cleanup items from the week that we missed. So where we left off was the Avalanche did finish their road series at Utah, winning that game 5-1. I was there for it. I was very happy. I was very much not the only Avalanche fan there. I'm pretty sure about.
I was gonna say, was it pretty heavy?
I mean, I can honestly think half is a pretty good number to get.
Because you have to assume
Avalanche fans.
There might be a section of Avs fans that eventually switch, but it's not. If the Avs sucked right now, we might have seen more people kind of go a little bit harder in with Utah. But for the most part, it might be a while until they have their own complete set of fans, because that's a pretty easy drive for most Colorado people.
And a very similar geography. So there's a lot of similarities, which is why I think in 5 years' time or even less, I think it's going to be one of the bigger rivalries in the NHL.
And it's nice too, because I swear to God, there's always like Bruins. Like when we went to the Flyers games, the Avs rink, their games get dominated by other teams. And I think part of it is just that Denver's so easy to travel to, but it freaking pisses me off when you hear just as many cheers for other teams scoring goals as Avs fans. And they always sell out. But, dude, I swear to God, the number of Giroux jerseys that we saw when we went to the Flyers Avs game made me want to puke. It's crazy how many other teams travel well through Denver.
There's a lot of them that do.
It's just the easy access to Denver, or everybody loves their teams and their towns, but we just don't want to live there, but we still love them.
Could be. I mean, there's also the question of original six, right? A lot of people gravitate toward original six teams.
Yeah. It's easy.
And the Penguins, which is
good
weird,
swag. Yeah, Crosby makes it easy.
That's right. You mean future Av Sidney Crosby?
Yes, I
Is that who
do.
you're talking about?
I've just been thinking, I'm like, you know what? Let's take Jerry too. Give us Jari, give us Crosby.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's happening. And it's Chris from Locked On. I don't know if you've been listening, but he agrees.
He keeps saying another 24 hours. He's on the same train as you, and I'm still sitting at the station waiting for some train to come that I can hop on. I don't know.
You know, they suck hard enough that it feels more imminent with every passing day because they're bad. And guys like Crosby can't live that life for too long.
I guess only time will tell, Britt. Either you were right or
we'll see it. I should have marked my time and marked this point in history where I'm calling. And we'll see. I think I'm going to add Jari to that.
We've talked about it a lot. You've got plenty of receipts on previous episodes where we can.
What would you think about Jari? Do you think that it's a Penguins problem with him being able to perform, or is it just a him in general problem? I think he's got it in him. He's just kind of a weird dude.
You know,
he's been good.
He has been good, but I would honestly say it's a very similar problem to kind of what we have now with Georgiev, which we'll get to in a second. But just for the sake of brevity, before we actually dive deeper into that, I would say like a very similar problem we have here already with Georgiev, where he can perform, but for some reason he's just not right now, So,
and it's kind of,
I don't know.
Penguins are less tumultuous than the Avs are right now. At least Georgiev's got an excuse that this team is kind of a train wreck, but I don't know. Yeah. I like him, but how many you can't occupy like 67 roster spots with goalies. So
sometimes you wish you could.
Yeah, in this day and age, more so than ever.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, jumping back on track.
So Utah.
So they beat Utah 5-1. Easy, nice win. They played
kind of the first time we saw them really control. Yeah, it was I think up to that point the most solid front to back game that we had seen. Granted, Utah's kind of petered out a little bit. The big huge vibes are gone, which they're not a gimme, but they're not, they're not the hardest opponent, but they're also the same team that we've struggled with against in the Coyotes for many years. So it's kind of nice to put them away like that.
Yeah, it was I wouldn't say like easy, but it was exactly what you said. One of the more put together ones to that point.
Yeah. And we struggled to put it together against bad teams, which we went and proved that later on in the week. So
which we'll talk about in just a second.
But it was really nice to see. They needed it bad. Like kind of one of those wins, even if they had to go beat a Pee Wee team. Sometimes you just need to win a game.
Sometimes you just got it. Yeah, exactly. Another one that the Avalanche then went on to win was against the Senators with a score of 5-4. Same type of thing. The scoreboard. Okay, so to me,
it was a weirdie.
It was a weird one, but I feel like the score didn't really reflect how the game was actually played. Does that make sense?
No, we really wanted to let it get out of control for whatever reason. And then it was another takeaway that we haven't really seen is seeing them. Last year, we were talking about in the last show, there would be 3 minutes left and we'd be down by 3. And at no point did I ever feel that a game was over until the buzzer was going off. And this year, it's like, I've kind of, grown used to there's really no way, but nice to see them with a comeback and a dig in and continually game after game after game. We see Middlestat. He may very well end up going down as the keynote trade of Chris McFarland's career if he continues like this.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were really underwhelmed, and we've all been emotionally invested in Bo Byram for so many years, and we all had such high expectations for him. But at this point, it's hard to even fathom Bo Byram having the impact even close to what Casey Middlestat's doing right now.
Yeah, it's true. And in this game, Nikolai Kovalenko scores his first
Yes,
career goal. It was
I like.
awesome. It was
Yeah,
super great. I forgot to also mention in the Utah game, Ivan gets his first
yes.
career goal.
It's hard to
And
think. Ivan. I think those are the two. They're pretty much demanding us. There's no way at this point. Is there any way that they're not rostered NHL players? I mean,
to me, given all these injuries that have currently happened,
yeah,
which we'll get to in just a second, um, I feel like it's made a pretty tough case for Jared Bednar to say you guys
yeah.
haven't played good enough because they have. They obviously
Even
scoring
with a
is
healthy team, it's hard to
even with a
imagine.
healthy team, right?
You
And like I was
almost wonder
thinking,
if
like
they've
scoring
outperformed Miles Wood. Could one of them
maybe
force Wood out at some point? It's a good problem to have. I don't
maybe
want to, but it's hard to think.
yeah.
They are
I mean,
both, and they're similar
I've
players.
I've been very impressed with how both of them have played.
Yeah.
That's the important thing is that they're not. At least I don't feel like they're liabilities out on the
No,
ice.
and they're unsatisfied. They're hungry.
Yeah,
They
they
don't
want to go
look
and
and
score.
they don't look so defeated or tired. You know what I mean? They're lacking that tiredness. And granted, they are still working with the mentality of earning a spot, but every single game, and especially this one, Ivan, I think he had like 3 big scoring chances in that game. And he's just,
Yeah,
he's done that game after game, which is going to happen when you're with McKinnon on a line. But I've said it before and we've talked about it. It's not easy to play on a line, and it's not a granted to play on a line and get goals with Nathan McKinnon. It does require a lot of skill and an ability to be able to keep up with them and see the game as fast as they do. And they've both moved up and down to that spot. I mean, Ivan has been putting in special teams minutes, and
yeah.
it's a big surprise. For as much as we complain about our lacking of development in later round draft picks, who needs them when you got when we're picking out, randos, undrafted randos, and making NHL mainstays out of them?
Or let alone starting our seventh round draft pick from this year,
Unreal.
calling
I
him
think
up.
they said it was the first one in history. There's only 3 players from that draft that are playing, and I don't think any of them. Who would the other 3 be? Celebrini? I mean, they would just have to be the big boys that they
From
just
this
thrown out
draft, you
there.
mean?
Yeah.
Celebrini, I know is
I'm trying to think of
obviously
who was the number 2 draft pick. What's his
who's.
face? Who was the second overall?
Oh, hang on.
But they're dudes
Oh
that
no,
are.
it's Flyers.
Yeah,
What's
that's what
his name?
I keep wanting to say. Marchenko.
Oh my gosh, it's a.
Starts
I
with an
have
M,
the
the
name right
Russian
there.
kid,
This is gonna drive me nuts.
and he's not doing a whole lot.
Well, he was originally, but then it just kind of went away.
Man, you gotta wonder. That's gonna be a coach clash.
Could be. It was.
Now it's
Hang on,
killing my
please hold.
brain.
I'm gonna tell you here in 2 seconds.
Whew.
Beachkov.
Beachkov. Oh man,
Matvey
I keep
Beachkov.
these Russian names. It's really hard to keep track
Yeah.
of. Yeah. So, but anyway, he was like this within the last 10 of all draft picks. Prishvatov?
Yeah, Nikita Prishkipov.
Yeah. And
Yep.
he also
He's
not a
played
liability.
pretty great. Yeah,
He
like
is putting himself in places to do things. I mean, he certainly doesn't
and he's had
look like
multiple
dude.
scoring chances, even in
Yeah.
these I guess next 3 games, which I guess brings us right into this one.
Yeah.
Losing to a score of 5-2 in all 3 of these games, and they all had a very similar feel. So I'm going to kind of group them into one. You lose 5-2 to the Blackhawks at home. You lose 5-2 to the Lightning at home, and then you lose 5-2 on the road in Nashville. All of them had such similar vibes, where it's just the cohesion was not there. The injuries kept piling up. However, there were bright spots in that, like we were saying with Nikita Prishkipov. And
a lot of guys, though.
You know,
I know
they were all
Steinberg got his
playing
suspension,
okay.
but I I mean, don't you feel like we just hit a wall at one point where, and it's really hard to blame them, they looked absolutely defeated. We knew that we didn't have any backup coming. The earliest would be Lehkonen. It just kind of felt like we hit the basement. And it's insane to say that when McKinnon is already off on a better start than his Hart year last year. Same with Makar. We have some of the leading scorers in the NHL. And it feels like almost every AHL player that we've brought up and tested out has really done very well. I know Matt Steinberg got his suspension. I love Matt Steinberg. Just hopping around to him from various points. But Parker Kelly, could you believe that sequence of 5 blocks the other night?
Man. Okay,
literally just gave his whole entire body. So Matt Steinberg, who else have we had up and down? I mean, all of them. They've all proved that in a normal, like not insane situation like we're in, any of them could come up and fill in a fourth line, which is what their intended job should be. But they've done even more than we ever could have asked them to.
Yeah,
so it's a good sign for the future.
It is, and that's the thing is, it's also a pretty difficult choice for the future because
as
much as you want to have everyone,
wonderful,
right? Like again, you have a decision with Kovalenko.
Yeah, who do we send down?
You know, it's just like I wouldn't know what to do in this situation because I've just been very pleased with what I've seen from those group of guys. In the depth, particularly,
and even Callum Ritchie wasn't awful. He's just there's more for him down there.
Yep.
I mean, it is as hopeless as things feel right now. Once we got some bodies back, I can guarantee you that this league has got to be terrified of when we are even close to full strength. And then now everybody keeps talking about our depth. It's like, dude, we have depth. We're just using every single ounce of it right now. Once we have our guys back, the depth is going to go back to being depth. Yeah. This is exactly proof that our depth is good. Honestly, it's kind of incredible that we're even slightly below 500 when you consider what's going on.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, a good thing from that, though, is the most recent game. The Avalanche win 6-3 over the Kraken. And this one was a really a feel-good win, especially after 3 really crushing losses.
I think everybody's breathing and feeling lighter today because it felt like, not like we're back, but it definitely was like, okay, we're still us. We are still the Avalanche that we know and expect. And Nathan McKinnon is the best hockey player in the world. I don't care if people want to argue about Connor McDavid right now and last year. Nathan McKinnon is doing it in different ways and with consistency. I mean, literally, an opening streak like that, the consistency and through trials that so many leaders can't continue to push and push and push and literally just drag them on his back. Nathan McKinnon is the greatest hockey player in the world right now. And will he be forever? Probably not. But right now he is the greatest hockey. He's incredible. He's truly, especially when you consider 5 assists, setting up 5 various grinders, AHL players, fourth liners. He is dragging them to you know what I mean, to a NHL career. It's awesome. It's really nice to see, and especially for him to mentally keep it together through this because he could crumble.
Yeah, it's true, and we saw this in the 2022 season where McKinnon wasn't this scoring machine throughout the entire season like he was last season, but he was Mr. Assist. Right? That was his MO.
And that's a big factor in being elite is doing it yourself or helping others.
He was able to produce these opportunities for players like, let me read the list, Chris Wagner, Ivan, Arturi Lehkonen, who scores in his first game back, by the way.
Thank Amazing. God. What a difference.
Mikko Rantanen twice.
About damn time.
Amazing. right? So
Yeah,
like it's caliber of player where I don't want to, how do I call it? Like a three-way player, because he's dangerous when he has the puck, but he's dangerous when he doesn't have the puck, but he's also dangerous giving away the puck in that sense of like pass.
To
right?
everyone too. And we got a little pissy last year that he was being trigger shy and doing too much passing and he needs to shoot more. But now it's like, dude, pass away, because he's making it work. I mean,
Do
he's
whatever you
doing
can.
it, and he doesn't need Draisaitl or Zach Hyman. He's doing it. He's getting all these dudes goals and honestly changing their lives, like giving them some livelihood in the NHL. He's just and it's hard to imagine when he's got Drouin and, you know, a full lineup and people are back where they belong, how this train is going to function. You know, it's just, it feels like it has to be all uphill from here. And this game was such a solidifying, like, mentality. It helped us believe again that
exactly
there were people literally talking about time to rebuild on the internet. I swear to God, people are out of their minds.
No, it's injuries. That's all it is. Every team has them. We just happen to have it more.
We have bad luck.
But I tell you what,
trainers don't. You don't out train somebody from breaking a foot by a shot, or the one that does scare me though, like from last night, is Cale Makar with a non-contact injury. That's the scary one. The non-contact stuff is the scariest to me.
That is true. However, I do want to give flowers to someone who should have been injured, but apparently didn't, and that's Parker Kelly.
It was
so Hal McKinnon had 5 assists. Parker Kelly in a single possession.
This guy was
5 blocks,
flying through the air, and then watching that goal go in and him having
score on that possession. Yep. And he
did it feel like he had to like restrain himself from baseball batting juice, like who's just right in the head.
Yeah. And here's the thing is I support that. I support that sticks, slamming it on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Especially when did you see him on the bench and he's talking to the trainer and the trainer is leaning over his back and he's like, well, like right here and right here hurts and right here hurts.
Let's see, where did I get here? I got hit here.
I cannot even imagine what that.
Oh,
and it's
crazy.
Just like, who's Parker Kelly? Like, you know what I mean? Your average fan, who is that? And that guy is out there literally. And I mean, I don't know if shot blocking has always been his gig, but that is something that like, that makes you a guy. Like that makes you a guy that fans will they want more of, and you know what I mean, like that's how the team falls in love with you, your goalie falls in love with you, especially
for sure.
I'd like to like, I don't even know if somebody could even find or track a record, but 5 like bodied blocks, like not just little stick doinks, like straight off the foot, straight off his side, one off his thigh. I can't imagine it even being possible that there are many more that have 5 blocks in one play by a single person.
And it was almost in succession.
And then they score a goal.
That was the part where it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But excuse me, the Avalanche come away with a win. And we kind of hope that can now start something, especially now, and we kind of move on to this segment, with these injuries that have accumulated but are now starting to get people to come back. We saw Artturi Lehkonen play his first game in that Seattle series, or in that Seattle game, and he looked like he didn't lose a stride at all. And it was a breath of fresh air, man. Let me tell you.
It feels it's been 6 months since he's played a game, and it's kind of nice, as much as we haven't wanted him to be gone. It's nice to have him come in. Like, you have to imagine that guy's like ready to freaking go, especially when you watch your team struggle the way that we have. Oh my God. He was such a difference maker for what he can do. And then also for just moving people down the lineup,
Oh yeah.
Back to where they belong.
The one thing that you missed so much from him was his forechecking ability.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so good because that means you can retain possession of the puck. You can stay in your offensive zone, recreate, or now I guess create new opportunities to score, and you saw it, right? Like that.
I truly think he's one of the most underrated players or
He
under
is.
discussed in the NHL. Like not even just the
I
Avs in the
100% agree
NHL.
with him.
The true high IQ, like hockey beat people, they know Lehkonen, and people in Montreal, they know the value of Lehkonen. I bet that Montreal thinks. Could you imagine him on that team with a bunch of young kids? He brings a lot of vibes too. He's a great human. He's a good. Did you see that picture? I cannot get over this big hat thing. It's so funny.
Isn't that the funnest thing? Is
And
the
to
big
see
hat
McKinnon taking a
MVP.
dead ass interview with this hat on, like it's I guess Gabe bought it, but I never in a million years would have thought that we would catch Nathan McKinnon wearing a giant hat just in
doing
that
an interview. Dead serious.
And then there's that picture of Lehkonen just striking a catty little queen pose in the big hat, and these guys are wearing this big hat as though it has to be some kind of running joke to just not acknowledge it or even pretend like it's there, because it's great. And that's part of that's a Landy thing. And we miss that. And even not playing, he's still, that's gotten some good giggles, and it's been a nice,
I guarantee it has.
I need to find one for my kid. I don't know if they sell them in the store, but sales of that hat have had to go through the roof. Because
have you worn the hat?
No, it looks like it would be exhausting.
They are so much fun. They're not as heavy as you think they are, but you just.
So is it like a head size hole in it though? And then the rest of
it's
it
obviously the big hat, right? But so if you flip it so that you see the top, it's a piece of covered fabric foam that just has a divot in it where you can then sit it on your head.
Okay, because it does stay on your head well.
And it stays. Exactly. It stays.
And I just think about people wearing them in front of you at a game. Probably really annoying.
I know they're pretty expensive, but boy, I feel like it'd be an investment well worth it.
Yeah.
They're $100. They're pretty expensive.
It's definitely been a locker room thing. You can tell that it's a little giggle fest for them, and there's some kind of discussion about them wearing it being dead ass. It's not a joke to them. I love it. I think it's been so good for them, and seeing. If you can get Nathan McKinnon to buy into something dumb and goofy, then you can
get anybody to do it. If you can get him.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Good deal. Moving on to the next, I guess, player that is supposed to return. This one not from injury, but suspension.
Yeah.
And that is Val Nichushkin. He has been cleared to practice with the team, as he has already been doing so. And I believe he is slated to come back to play on Friday against the Capitals. On the 15th, I believe, is the day he can be back to play. So it's just a couple more.
And the word is he looks good in practice.
And I think it's in everyone's best interest.
They don't have choice. He's got to come back. We don't have choice.
And because you think about what you've missed from Nichushkin. You've heard all the people on altitude talk about it. You've heard the coaching staff talk about it.
Have you seen the statistics? I can't remember what it is, but our statistics when we win and lose with him on the ice are drastically more wins with him on the ice, far beyond even when we're missing Makar, when we're missing McKinnon, we lose way more when we are missing Nichushkin. Just pray to God that he comes out there, and really the best thing he can do is put his head down and be productive. As much as I love Lehkonen and I love Landeskog and I love Drouin, obviously, Drouin is my favorite player, but do you think that there's anyone more important to this lineup getting back than Nichushkin?
There's no one in, I will say, a more pivotal role when it comes to changing momentum, keeping momentum than Val Nichushkin, right? Same thing as Arturi Lehkonen, his forechecking, speaking of Val, is also really elite, but the only difference is he's a big body. He can tip the puck really, really well.
He's our most defensive forward, I think.
Exactly. He's not afraid to get down and dirty when you need to. it's going to be nice to have him back, albeit on a short leash, because if it happens again, I'm sure he's
It's
out.
done. It's absolutely done. They'll have to do anything they can.
I am taking the words of the team physicians and doctors that they are a lot happier with this type of recovery.
Right. And I would imagine that they will be testing him probably themselves once or twice a day. Like, I don't think that they're going to take absolutely any risks. Just pray that a healthy him, which another note, like speaking of healthy, like Sam Girard looks so healthy and so good. And you know what? It's just been so nice. He had such a great game in the Seattle game. But I don't know if you've noticed, but like just his face, his skin and his, you know what I mean? His color, and he looks so good. It's so nice to see. And hopefully Nik is going to take it upon himself to find recovery in the way that Sam Girard did, because you have to want it for yourself. Sam Girard clearly he must have just been like the epitome of what you can ask for in someone, you know, with their own drive and their own desperate desire, because I think in his game and in the way he appears to be living as a human and emotionally, seems so much happier and healthier. So I just hope we can see that for Nuke too.
Yeah.
Not that his game need to be better, but it's scary to think about what it would be if it does get better.
No kidding. I think you're absolutely right. Because remember, you've still got plenty of tenure with him. So it'd be nice to not have any more off-ice incidents and just have, I think, 5 more years. Well, including this is 5. But it'd be nice to see no more off-ice incidents and just have the production that you have been having with Val. Because keep in mind, he scored, 6 goals in 5 games in that postseason.
Possibly one of the most important keys within the Stanley Cup win, honestly.
Okay, so moving on to now the unforeseen but near future. We have 3 that are kind of in the same realm of Jonathan Drouin, Ross Colton, and Miles Wood. I believe Jonathan Drouin, out of those 3, is the one that is supposed to return the soonest.
Yeah, sounds like he's really close.
I believe the rough estimate was Drouin is like 2 weeks.
They said that at this point he's okay to go. It's a pain management thing. So I don't know if it's
day-to-day is kind of what he's considering.
Yeah, he's gonna have to learn to nag through, but isn't worsened by playing, you know what I mean? Which I try to think about what that would be.
It could be re-aggravated, whatever he's dealing with. I mean, there's always that.
It sounds like it shouldn't be a danger to the long term.
That's good.
And that's kind of what they said about like Demko was the same thing, where like he's okay. You just have to learn how to handle the pain. Miss him, dude. He's just one of those guys that pushes people down.
He made himself a staple on the team. I mean, we've sung his praises now for the last year. That he's a changed player, really.
It sucks that the second everybody kind of realized that like this dude's our dude. Like in this year, he kind of came in as like he's a nav, like he's ours, and now he's gone.
Yeah, I think,
and that was just such a weird one because he finished out the first game. 1 point. Didn't he have a point? 2 points, and then he was just gone.
I mean, I think he has. Hang on, I could tell you this right now.
Didn't he only play
currently sitting at no points.
Okay.
But he has played in games this season.
Yeah, we got to get him rolling. I mean,
1 game.
It would just be nice. It's not like you can get all of your injuries out of the way, but hopefully we can, if there is a time to be hurt, I suppose right now is it.
Early in the season, and just hope that we can kind of muscle out some wins, because obviously
it's getting hard from here out.
Exactly, and we'll talk schedule here in just a second. So we'll keep rolling on then. So the next one supposedly to come back after Drouin is Miles Wood. My guess is like early to mid-December, from what it sounds like, because they retrospect his IR to right before Halloween, and if you assume 6 weeks, that puts it at about mid-December.
Have they said what the actual injury is? I thought he was still like day to day to week. Like
I don't recall what they mentioned. I mean, like I said, the Avalanche are so vague in those types of things, unless it's like a blatantly obvious one where there's like no way to keep it a secret.
Right.
But I think either way, that's where I'm pinning it is around mid-December. It sucks.
Which sucks, but I mean,
his speed and his just the heart that he has out there, where he's not afraid to pick fights. He's not afraid, not afraid.
Yeah, he's a fire.
Passes. It's you do miss him at times because he brings those bursts of speed to maybe shift momentum, and he scores goals just as many as as the third liner would.
Yeah. His little breakaways and stuff, they set some tones.
Yeah, and he's 1/3 of the Roaring 20s line, which I bet Logan O'Connor is just like, I miss my friend, And speaking of, Ross Colton is the last one, and I'm assuming around New Year's is kind of the time he's going to be back.
Have we had a show since then? That one's just so crushing.
And this one is the one that exactly is the worst because he was scoring goals.
He's on his way to a 50 goal season.
He was well on his way to having a big season, and I think he still will.
And there's no one that brings more joy and light to a whole entire ice arena than Ross Colton. I truly never would have imagined that Ross Colton would go from being someone that I thought may have been expendable and possibly overpaid to becoming one of my favorite players of all time. I'm going to cheer him wherever he goes for the rest of his career because he's just a good human. And
it's a toxic on ice personality in the good way.
Yeah.
Where you just
it is so contagious. His smile.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's super amazing. And then the last one, and this one comes as what seems to be bummer news, is Gabe Landeskog.
Yeah.
Where it was reported that he had a, quote, significant setback.
Yeah, they've waffled on it a couple times.
Though. A lot of people are like, now it's time to consider retirement. Now it's time to do this, whatever. We don't know the extent of what a significant
setback walked back the term setback and said that he's still working out. Bednar said earlier today that they made it sound really grim. Like, I think everybody kind of freaked out. And I don't know if they overstated it or they just wanted to settle down the noise. But they said that they do still anticipate a Christmas time. But I wonder if they just want people to shut up for a few minutes while they truly reassess and recalculate that. I've been adamant that Gabe Landeskog truly risked his body and finished that season for the sake of getting the cup. And he has been our captain since he was a literal teenager. He's, in my mind, going to go down as one of the greatest captains of all time. I think he is truly one of the most class-act humans. He deserves the patience that he's gotten, but we might be, if there is a significant setback in where he is questionable for this year, even someone like me who has been absolutely adamant that he deserves it, we might be looking at kind of the end of that road. And I could literally make myself cry. It's hard to talk about, but at some point,
I would also
can't anymore. And the next step in doing him right, it probably comes with a big fat paycheck and a nice cushy front office job. I think he's going to be part of the Avs forever.
Retirement banner and
I mean, he is. If we didn't have like a Sakic, he would probably go down. And it makes me sad that people already are so distanced from what an incredible player he was. Like, people need to go back and watch some highlights and watch him kick some ass and score some goals in front of the net. He's been our Band-Aid for 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, he was like the definition of an aggressive goal scorer.
Yeah.
Like your body down in front of the goalie, that was Landeskog. Like, that was his job, and it worked, so well. But yes, so the quick news on this one is that he did have a quote unquote setback, but I guess to your point, they walked it back a little. Apparently he will still play.
Which I hate, because they said that any setback is start.
I know, because that's what we've been professing, but I guess it's not entirely true now, is it? But I think that takes care of the large injuries, with the exception of Cale Makar, who did have some kind of an injury, but he is still traveling with the team, so maybe he misses a game or two.
It was like it looked like he like hit a rut, and it looked a little groin, thigh, something. It was kind of reassuring that he went with the trainer, came back on the bench, took a shift, came back off, but he was on the bench. So, and we were already pulled away at that point. So I'm just hoping it's an abundance of caution.
Exactly.
I love Cale Makar. I literally think that Cale Makar is the greatest defenseman and will go down as the greatest defenseman. But he's like, I don't want to say soft, but like he's a little injury prone. So I just hope that they are being as careful as humanly possible, because at this point there's absolutely no reason to. Our defense is healthy as what healthy means for this team. So him going on the trip is reassuring.
It's a good sign. Yep, exactly. Okay, so to wrap up today's episode, we're going to just do the look ahead for the next 4 games until the next time we meet. So we have currently on the docket 4 games that we're looking at. One of them, this first one, is a road one, and then 3 more home games. So that's very nice to have a homestead.
We need to reclaim our home successfulness, because this is like gross and weird.
Reclaim success, period. I don't care where we are. But the one that you guys are about to watch, hence why we're kind of recording this early so you guys can get an episode here. The one you guys are about to watch is against the Jets in Winnipeg.
You mean the greatest hockey team in the world
right
that
now,
I still can't believe is even a good hockey team? Like
they're right now and like a basically unbeatable team. I just watched them a couple days ago shut out Utah, and Utah still played a pretty hefty game. Like they kind of exposed some weaknesses in the Jets team, but they still shut them out.
Could you have ever, Amanda, imagined that at this point in the season, the Jets and the Wild would be the first 2 in the Central Division?
That is not even close to what I predicted. I'll tell you that much right now.
Makes me want to puke, Nick. Oh my God.
However, the offensive firepower that Colorado has now with Lehkonen even is better than Utah has. So I think this is going to make for a much more tough game because. Like I said, during the Utah game, I saw weaknesses that Utah had exploited, just couldn't capitalize on.
Their schedule has been easy. Like they haven't been going through a gauntlet, which we haven't either. But they're riding this win streak on a very, very light schedule. So it would be nice if we could be. Hellebuck's gonna come in. Probably feeling a little bit like, oh God, he's got
these guys again.
We've gotten. It sounds like Georgiev is going to be a net. So Georgiev, I'm hoping that all of the emotional stars line up, and we know we can kick their ass no matter how good they're doing.
Yeah, yep, and that's going to be my key to the game is Alexander Georgiev. Obviously, as of late, he hasn't been the guy. It's been
He's been out for 4 games now. 4?
Yeah, something to that effect. Even to a point where they started Kaapo Kähkönen, and he
not great.
Not great, but believe it or not, the scores kind of showed the same as Alexander Georgiev, which was that kind of opened your eyes a little bit. So,
and while Onanen has been good, there is still plenty of space for Georgiev to take it back.
He's been the easy to see hot hand. But he's not the perfect fit. Everything's going to be fine. There's no issue.
He's not fire.
Yeah,
he hasn't stolen games.
What I'm hoping is that this Jets game reignites whatever has been extinguished, especially
which feels like a very good opportunity for it.
If he can play like he did in that round 1 series against them last year, I'm really hoping that is. And I hope that it starts him back into the fighting shape that we've seen him do the last 2 seasons, where he will go on these long winning runs and you can rely on him again. Right. So that's going to be my key to the game is Alexander Georgiev. I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not too concerned about the goaltending on the other side. I know Hellebuck is
goalie, here's their schedule up until us. They played Edmonton. And Edmonton had a slow start. They played Edmonton, Chicago, Minnesota, San Jose, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Seattle, Calgary. Toronto is when they had their first loss. Detroit, Columbus, Tampa, Utah. It's not.
Yeah, that's not exactly the
No.
walk of the aisles for sure, but
And then they play us, and then they go Dallas, Rangers, Tampa, Florida. I mean, they go on to finally start playing
now
some
they're going
teams.
on to some tougher
Yeah,
teams, so that's at least good to know that
we
we're
can start
beginning of
their
that.
demise.
I
I
like that.
just, I don't know why. I just can't believe that it just won't. My brain
It's
won't.
crazy. It's
Won't
so
buy it.
crazy. So after Winnipeg, then you have a 3-game homestead, Hurricanes, Predators, and Kings. So all 4 of
Hurricanes
these games are
are,
going to be very, very tough.
yeah, the
Hurricanes, same
Kings
thing. They're
too.
9-2, right?
Hurricanes are on an absolute tear, and they're really not being talked about. I think this year, more than ever before, people thought that this was kind of going to be the year that they finally lost their credibility as a cup contender. They've been a cup contender for what?
Last 8
8 to
years.
10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
And I
been a
think
long
everybody
time.
thought, and now they've had one of the best starts that they've had in that period. So
Yeah, it's
winning
crazy.
this stretch of games, if we could win 3 out of the next 4, would really change the tone of our season in general. Getting a
Exactly.
couple real value wins.
And I'd agree. And I think with this Hurricanes game, though, my key to the game in this one I have is just discombobulate. And what I mean by that is this Hurricanes team, as has been years and seasons in the past, are just stupid amounts of coordinated. Like they know how to coordinate passes and shots. They know how to set up one-timers. Like they know what they're doing. They're like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, almost monotonous, but it's regulated to
Exactly. Right. So that's going to
defensive,
be my thing
very
is you
defensive.
have to disrupt any kind of rhythm that they are about to jump themselves into, because next thing you see is going to be a little tic-tac-toe shot goal, and you might be down 3 goals before you even know it. So
I
it's
think,
gonna
did
be
I
up to
hear
the
their
defense on this
goaltender's
one
hurt
to
again?
formulate their offensive
Yeah.
coordination, making abilities, whatever you want to call it, their strategy.
Get them out of their game, like in just
Exactly.
ways teams like Dallas and stuff, they force you to play their game or they fall apart and struggle. So
Yep.
it's whose game are we going to play? And we just kind of got to demand that it's ours.
That's exactly right. The next one, so that Hurricanes game is on Saturday at 7 Mountain Time, and then the Predators game's on Monday at 7 Mountain Time. This one, again, you just got the doors
You get
beat off
back.
you by Nashville. This one is, to me,
That was an own loss,
an
felt like.
own loss.
And
You beat
we played
yourself. You need to show
terrible.
that, hey, we're a different team now,
Yeah.
right?
Possibly one of the worst games that we've like played in this season.
Potentially, I would say
Felt
the
bad.
Tampa and Chicago games weren't
Yeah, Tampa
pretty
too.
either. That kind of whole stretch was not good. So this game has got to be a get one back, show that it wasn't just a fluke. That's not the team you are. Nichushkin's almost going to be back, but you need to show that what you currently have, the pieces that you have, work and can work against anybody, right? So that would be the one thing that I would say is to just put a foot down on this, right? To take care of the game, score early, score often, and just get it done. The last game that we'll talk about before the next episode is going to be the one against the LA Kings. LA Kings right now also looking super, super good. 8-3-3 as it currently sits. Wednesday, this is going to be Wednesday at 8 o'clock. That one's going to be nationally televised. This one is a little bit more interesting because they are a more mature team. They have a lot more experience, and their game style is more physical, so to speak. Not necessarily in the just check against the boards, but they exhaust you via the physicality of their play, the intensity of their play. Like they know what they're doing, and they can gas you down like crazy. Their big opening, I guess, the great, what am I trying to say? Weakness? Oh dear, there went Brit. The great weakness that I see in the LA Kings is that goaltending. Their goaltending of Darcy Kemper and or let's see, Riddick was one of their goaltenders. It's just not been the most elite, I'll say. So I think it's going to be down to picking them apart. Speaking of either Riddick or Darcy Kemper, it's got to be the Welcome Back to Colorado show if it's Darcy Kemper, or the Hey, don't forget we still own you show for David Riddick. So I think as far as like pound for pound, the Avalanche I think are definitely the better team in that instance. However, you can't let this game slip away from you, because obviously they have a winning record, but that does not mean they are not unbeatable, or that they are unbeatable or not unbeatable. You know what I'm trying to say. So basically what we're going after, attack the goaltending, because they are prone to make mistakes. We know this particularly because one of the goaltenders was one of our own. He only played well because we had a elite defense in front of us. So that would be the look ahead for that. With that being said, though, I don't know if Brit's going to be able to jump back in or not, but we do want to sign off. Obviously, there's a game that has to be played, so we want to make sure we get that taken care of. So let us know if you guys have any questions. Let us know your feedback in the comments, and we'll be sure to respond to you. We really do appreciate it. We've seen a large influx of people that have started to DM us. So super happy for people's participation and interest. We encourage you guys to continue to do so. So with that being said, unless Brit's able to hop back on, we'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everyone, for watching this episode of the Clusterpuck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network. Again, if you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow the MHRT Network so you can get notified when shows like the Clusterpuck Podcast go live. You can follow them on the various social media platforms of your choosing. If you want to follow us, you can follow us specifically at the Clusterpuck Podcast on Facebook and at Clusterpuck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. With that being said, we're back in the win column. Let's get a streak going. Let's hope it's 5 by the time we see each other again. So have a great, enjoy the game, I should say. Have a great weekend. Have a great Veterans Day weekend, I should say, for those of you who have the day off. Awesome. Enjoy that. And we'll see you next week. And as always, go Avs, go.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down.